Okay, so when I started Co-Founder Club, let me give you a little bit of story behind that. So I've been looking to get into the startup world for just so many years. I was always looking at it, and I had joined one or two startups, and for whatever reasons they didn't go well. That's not this story. But I was in a position where I was in a city, in an ecosystem where I didn't know anyone. I didn't know, the workspaces, the people. I didn't even know the startups, the founders. I didn't have credibility. I mean, really, I wasn't too sure what I was doing. And what I eventually started doing is going to different events, different meetups. I'd go to the workspaces. I'd go to, all these different things. I'd go on Facebook. I'd go on the groups. And I'd be interacting with people and starting to meet people. And as far as I was concerned, I had this wonderful idea that was just going to change the world. And I was blasting this idea out to everybody. And what was happening weeks and weeks and weeks? Nothing. Now, forgetting about the actual solution, here's where the real problem was, that, I was going out for all these different groups and things, but they weren't people that were looking for what I was trying to do, which was connect. I mean, even some of the co-founder events, it wasn't right. It wasn't working, because I'd be going to, tech events. I'd be going to, random meetups for people in startups and such. So naturally, I got completely frustrated, and just weeks were going by, no progress was being made, and me being me, I start throwing my little tantrum. Why the hell won't this work? What's going wrong here? What the hell can I do? And then suddenly it just sort of hit me, that idea. What if I just made a group? My group, and it was just, this is for people who want to connect and find co-founders. And that was it. It was really that simple. And the idea just popped into my head. So what I did was I went straight to meetup.com, because I knew that's where all the entrepreneurs and tech, people were going to events from my specific ecosystem. And I just, in 10 minutes, I made this event. And, what am I going to call it? A co-founder club, because, for co-founders, and hey, let's make it a club. It's just for us. And then it was like, well, what can event we do? And I asked myself, what did I want? And I just kept it simple. Look, pitching, I want to hear in 60 seconds what you do. I want to say in 60 seconds what I do. So we had the name, and we had the event, and we put the whole thing together. And I blasted it out on a Friday night, and I just sort of went off and, enjoyed my weekend. And by Saturday, 24 hours later, all of a sudden there was 160 people signed up, ready to go. I hadn't booked anything. I hadn't done anything. All I did is I threw it up there. And, the rest is history. If you know Co-Founder Club, of course, we've got thousands and thousands of members now. We're growing like crazy. But that's how it started. And it's really interesting, because when we look back at that exercise, we can see why it worked and what happened. Because what really happened is that I knew exactly who I was going after. I was going after other people like me, early stage entrepreneurs, early stage founders, and all they wanted was one simple thing. They had one huge problem, this serious pain. How do we connect with other people who just want to co-found a company with me? Don't want to do anything else. They don't want to sell me anything. They don't want to talk about the fun. They just want to connect. And that's what we managed to do. And it all really worked, not because the events were great, or because the name was great, or because the execution. It was just simply a question of, I knew exactly, inadvertently, but I knew exactly who I wanted to connect with. I knew exactly what that problem was, because I had that problem too. And I knew exactly where that customer was, where that customer was gonna go, where that person was, the process, what they wanted. I knew those three things. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because that's where it all starts. When people ask me, Keith, can you sell for me? Can you do a campaign? First thing I say is, okay, let's sit down. We need to do a few things first. And the first thing, before we've done anything at all, is we need to ask ourselves, who is our customer? Because until we know everything about our customer, your solution doesn't matter. Okay, your campaign doesn't matter. None of these things work or make sense because the foundation of all of this, whether it's going to work or not going to work, is always going to start with who is my customer. So let's go into the lesson. Who is my customer? It starts with that customer persona, if ever you've heard of it. Now, customer persona can be called different things. ICP is pretty common, ideal customer profile. You've also got enterprise buyer persona, avatars. I know in the marketing world, people call them avatars. It's all really the same thing. What I'm going to do in this lesson, instead of giving you all these worksheets and all these exercises, this is the way it has to be done. The process, okay, the overall process, because if you're watching this, I'm guessing, you've got this huge big startup, maybe you're at the beginning, maybe you've got a few customers, but you really need to start here. Who is the person I'm trying to sell to? And really building that up. So the customer avatar is really the best place to start. Give your person a name. In my example, we're going to call them, let's say, Adam. Nice, simple name. So who do I want to give this particular course to, this workshop, this lessons, this high performance consultancy, whatever we want to call this? Who needs this? So Adam, for me, would be someone at the earliest stage. He has a product ready to go. He's probably spoken to a few people. Maybe there's a little bit of beta testing going on, but he doesn't really have any paying customers yet. Now, he may have POCs, proof of concepts, but there's no paying customers. And I'm guessing for me, he's going to be between 25 and 35. He's going to all these different meetups and groups and events, and he likes to go to just any kind of the Facebook groups, entrepreneur, startup. Startup is the big word because he sees himself as the next big startup. He's driven, to be into that unicorn status one day. He doesn't care if it takes him 10, 20 years. He's going there, and that's all he knows. He's coming from a profession. So whether that's engineering or programming, but he has a skill, and he knows he has a skill. He knows he's good at what he does. And this is sort of the persona. I see that vision. I have a name. I've got an age. He is going to be more male. Now, I can have a separate persona for females, but for this persona, I'm going to say male. And what he really just needs to know is, look, how do I get customers? He may want a co-founder, and he may want to hire a salesperson, but he really needs to know, how do I just go get my customers? And unfortunately, I can say that my persona is going to assume that this requires sales skills and marketing skills, but I'll be putting all that to one side. So that for me is my persona. Now we can look at other examples and we can go to industry personas. So let's say as our industry persona that I'm looking for corporate clients. Let's boost this. Let's say this is 10 times bigger. I of course have done things like Sandler training. I'm Sandler trained, but I know there's Carnegie and there's a few other gold standards out there. So in those examples, we'd be looking for, shall we say, tech industries. Let's keep with the tech theme. And we're looking for office sizes in excess of, 5 to, call it 20 agents, something around there. We don't want to go too big for now. We just want to get our first few people. And in terms of revenue, let's say they have at least 10 deals per month going through their books. And they have a VP sales, an actual someone controlling the sales side of things, and a separate marketing side of things. So even geographic regions, if I want to just say, city A, okay? I'm only going to go for people in City A. That's my persona. And yes, I know that the decision makers are going to be, the COOs of the companies, but it's definitely the VP sales because they're the guys who are actually running the teams and they have their ass on the line who we're going to be going after. So you see, even in an industry setting, I can do the same persona. Now I'm looking at everyone around here in the studio and they're saying, Keith, an example. So, okay, Facebook, because it's B2C, it's just like, hang on, how can we apply this to B2C? Okay, moving away the B2B because we know we can do that. So how did Facebook start? watch the movie, and you're going to notice something really, really interesting. They did go after a specific customer persona, a real avatar, and that avatar was the the college student, okay? So there's 4 years in college. I think there's a few more. I get confused with the US system. So it had to be a college student. It had to be in Harvard, nowhere else. Now it's everything for everyone, but at the beginning, because you can't build a company that way, they went, okay, who do we start with? And they started with one, the college student, and then going more beyond what I've sort of been discussing here into the pain side of things, because that's where the example comes from. You know, what did they need? And they needed to see who's doing what, who's taking what classes, who's going to what bars, who's dating who. This was their need. And putting all that into that customer avatar, immediately they knew who they wanted, who they were going after. And then the last section of this example is going to be, well, how do we get them? And of course, they knew who to go after. They had, I think it was a couple of hundred people on an email list, and because they could hit them all at once, people could sign up all at once, and then people could see each other all at once, and it just grew and grew and grew from there. And if you check out the history of Facebook and their growth after 1 month, I think it was Columbia and Stanford and Yale, but one day each, for 3 or 4 days, it was a different university, and they mapped this out strategically, so they were only hitting one customer persona at a time. They were never going after everything and everyone. And right throughout their process, this is B2C, okay? Can't do avatars for B2C. Yes, you can, because we know who we want to go after, we know what their problem is, and we know where they're going to be. And that brings us to the next part of the lesson, which is, okay, so we know who we're going to go after. Okay, now it always has to start here. And I touched on it briefly, but we really need to know what is the pain. Now, as a salesperson, I use the word pain because when we're doing things like pitch decks, they talk about the problem, solution, but for me, the problem, it's not even enough. I need to go deeper. I need to go into pain. And unless we're talking about something that's really going to hurt, then it's never going to be strong enough, in my opinion, to actually really sell and scale a company around that. And there's a lot of different types of pain they say, but we're going to be focusing on pain in the present, because if you're watching this, okay, I don't want you to sell something in 6 months. I want you in the next week to actually start closing some deals or get people on the hook. And we're only going to do that if they have a problem that they're in pain today and they are desperate to try and fix it. Now, if you're starting to figure this out, we're going to ignore everybody else. So there's 2 types of customer persona. There's my customer persona, the avatar, which we've just discussed, and then there's not my persona. So when we're doing this exercise, we can make 4 or 5 different customer personas, and we're going to get super specific, and at the beginning we're going to choose one. Okay, one customer persona. I don't care if we think we can sell to the other 2 or 3, and if we find the other 2 or 3, we're going to focus on one, because that's how we can actually really, really grow this. And then when we come to our pain, we're going to say, well, what hurts these people the most? And we're really going to think, and if we're building a company around this, I'm guessing you have the expertise to know this. If you don't know, we need to go find out. We need to call 100 of this one customer persona, and we need to ask them, guys, what is the biggest challenge you face? What is hurting you? What is keeping you awake at night? What do you wish to God someone could come and solve? What would that problem be? And that is where we need to start with this. This is the pain side of things. Unless we can find pain that is actually costing them, not, oh, this would be nice, but I'm going to lose my job if I can't solve this problem in the next week, or I don't see my kids because I'm up until midnight every night at my place of business fixing the books. If only there was a piece of software to do this automatically and I could actually spend time with my family. Maybe, I could avoid a pending divorce. I'm talking about pain. So whatever industry you're in, whatever your customer persona is, Start asking yourself the question, what the hell pain is this guy in? Okay? And take your time with this. What is the pain? One persona, 3 pains, and put them in order of pain 1, pain 2, pain 3, and we take everything else out, okay? Have on the side your list of, I'm not going to service these people. And sometimes for me, who am I not going to service? I am not going to service the startup, no matter how amazing his technology is, if he's not coachable. If he's going to say to me, yes, I know my customer avatar. Well, hang on a second, your customer avatar isn't in pain. Oh, but my solution is wonderful. But if it's not following this formula, so I have quite a few customer personas that, on different reasons now, not being coachable, of course, is the big one. Also, if you're too advanced or not advanced enough, I want you right in that sweet spot where you've got a product ready to go and you can't move it on. So that's what it is for me. You need to choose yourself, what could that perfect customer persona be, and make it perfect. Don't say what's available, make it absolutely perfect, because I promise you they exist. And the pain, make sure it's right. And don't compromise on what your pain should be for your product. I mean, what is their pain? What is their pain? Forget your product, we're not onto that. And once we have that done, we can move on to the third and final section of who is my customer. And the third and final section of this is the customer journey. So only now do we want to ask ourselves, because we know exactly, we know that Adam is an early stage entrepreneur. We know that Adam has this amazing product, and Adam wants to find a co-founder, and Adam wants to find a sales co-founder, and Adam is going to all these different meetups, and he's going to Facebook, and he's joining the groups, the co-founder groups and the startup groups, and boom, this is the first part of my journey, which is awareness. Where does Adam become aware of anything, of new solutions, of new products, of new things? And this is the next part that we have to ask ourselves. You see your avatar, okay? Look at your avatar and write it down. I promise you, Facebook, for example, has lots of different groups that you can go to, and Adam will be in there, or your customer persona, I hope you've given them a name, will be in there. And whether it's Meetup for me, what events are they going to? Are there conferences, groups, associations? Write this down. Are there bloggers? Are there influencers? Are there podcasts? Are there YouTube channels? Make that list of where all these people are. I mean, it's really that simple on the awareness side of things. And ask them. For a lot of the campaigns that I do, how do they become aware? Annoying cold callers call them. And I'm okay with that, because that is one place that people become aware of different things. So really write down every possibility, whether it's emails or LinkedIn or different things, where your specific customer persona becomes aware of anything. After we know how they're going to become aware, we ask ourselves the next question. Consideration. How do they consider things? Do they look it up online? Do they want to see reviews? Do they want to see, testimonials? Do they want to speak to their peers, check their associations? Do they want to meet the person face to face, sit down, have a conversation, shake their hand? How do they actually make these decisions? Do they just one-click it and move on? Or do they like invoices? Do they like legal letters? Do they have to meet with their team? If you're selling to corporates, you're not just selling to one person, you're selling to a team. So that team needs to be brought in, typically for a demo session. In the case of big tech, normally the way it works is marketing goes out, pulls in the lead. Lead comes into what we know as SDR, Sales Development Representative, who will then speak to that person and filter whether they're qualified or disqualified. If they're disqualified, we say kindly bye-bye. If they're qualified, we get some questions and answers, we get their information, and then we schedule an appointment with them and their entire team. All the decision makers, from the financials to the COO to the lower levels, and we put them into a lovely meeting with the sales guy. We schedule it, and that is the next phase. They do what they do, usually a proof of concept, followed by a quote which needs to get confirmed with their finance department, signed, bank transfer. But I'm just saying, how do people consider? You really need to give this thought. Not what is your selling process, because this doesn't really mean anything. You need to ask yourself how people actually like to go through the consideration process. Once we've gone through the consideration process, the next thing, of course, is that purchase. How do they actually purchase it? If this is low ticket or quick stuff, it's one click. If you're giving a 30-day trial, give the 30-day trial. Netflix, put it in one click. If you're selling high ticket, maybe it does need to be that invoice and the whole thing. So actually how that purchase gets made. So many startups, entrepreneurs, founders that I speak with, they go out and they run these campaigns, and we work together and we get this stuff, and they close someone. And even I speak to people on the phone and I'm like, do you want this product? And they're like, yes, I'm in. And it's like, excellent. What do we do now? How do we do it? And it's like they're scrambling for, well, what's the procedure? How do I take money? Guys, set this up in advance. Have this prepared. Expect that you're actually going to close it and have the plan ready to go. If you're sending out an invoice, no problem. Make something simple and sweet. If there's terms and conditions, no problem. Have a link, terms and conditions, simple, sweet. Don't spend all day on them. Once you've made that purchase, update them, and even put a thing on the terms and conditions. These will be updated, whatever it takes, but have an actual way to take money. Once we've done that, I know you think that we're done because this is the sales campaign. No, we're not done, because in order to sell a product, we need to give expectation. And the only way we can give expectation is knowing in advance what's going to happen after the sale. The service. How are we actually going to service our new customers? Are we just giving it to them and letting them sign up? Or is there an onboarding process that we're going to have maybe 3 sessions with them? When are those sessions going to be booked? How is this onboarding going to happen? Okay, this is also known as onboarding and customer success. We have to give that thought. So 24 hours, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, the onboarding initial, and right up until that service section, how are we going to review as we know it? The whole thing I'm putting into one explanation. Obviously in the bigger companies, this is separate, onboarding and then customer success, customer service, customer support. We keep it all in one because I'm assuming that Adam, he's a 1 to 2 man show. Maybe there's a few other programmers, developers. He needs to be able to do this all himself. Building that customer relationship. It doesn't matter how good your product is. If you cannot maintain the service, give the service with the world-class customer service, your customers will leave you. And I don't need to give too many examples to this. Let's look at the 2 biggest companies in the world. That would be Amazon, and that would be, the obvious other one would be AliExpress. And both of those CEOs obsessed with customer support, obsessed with customer service. And they've said it again and again, and just look at the results that they're getting, because they focus exclusively on making sure their customers get the best possible experience. And if we move this over to the high-tech scene, look at those unicorns out there, the WalkMe's, the Salesforce, the Oracles, the other big companies. They're all obsessed with giving the best world-class customer success that they can give. Everyone gets their own customer success manager. There's an onboarding plan, and that onboarding plan can go on for months at a time to make sure they get the best possible service, care, everything. The final part is going to be advocacy or evangelist, which is basically a fancy way of saying make sure that your customers go get more customers. Okay? If you've given them the best possible customer success in the world, they're naturally going to want to tell everyone, because everyone loves to be the one who's like, I know the best thing, you're not going to believe this. And they'll talk about it, they'll blog it, they'll Facebook it. But if you want to give them that extra little push, give them an extra something. 6 months free for every person you send in, or a free prize. I'll give you a free $1,000. I'll give you an extra 1,000, I should say, or an actual product. I've seen campaigns like this where literally they give away cars and they give away big things to just say, look, I'll give you this if you can go get 10 new customers. They do that a lot in the affiliate world. So find out what would be a good something to hand over to a customer to give some more customers to you, and introduce that as part of even your onboarding process. Not at the sales process, but for the onboarding process. The reason that you still have this in, even at this phase, is if they ask, because there's no problem with having something ready to go. So, okay, let's summarize this whole thing. Who is my customer? Make a customer avatar. You can start off with an industry, but even if you're doing it, enterprise buyer personas in that, who is that point of contact? Are they the COO, the CFO, the influencer? It doesn't matter. Have the person that you're actually going to go target. And once you know that avatar, that person that you're going to target, okay, the pain. What is his pain? And if you're not sure, here's an easy way to do it. Who would be all the potential customer personas you go after? Okay, who's in the most pain? And that's the person you hit. You don't always hit the decision maker, it's who's in the most pain. Because whoever's in the most pain has got the most to gain from your solution. And once we have those two things, it's kind of simple. We've eliminated who we're not going to go after by default, because we know who we are going to go after. And then we have our one customer persona with such pain. We're going to map out their journey. How do they become aware? How do they consider? How do they purchase? How are they going to be serviced and reviewed? And how are they actually going to stay on board even with evangelism or something extra? We're going to map that journey out. Once we have all of that, we really should know everything that we need to know about who we want to go after. There should be some links and a few other things attached to this video. You can go through them. You'll see more information on this. But now what I want you to do is, break out that pen and paper, go through all of this stuff, and really take your time and do this right. Forget completely about your solution, okay? Take your solution out of your mind. You've really got to focus on your customer and absolutely nothing else. And I promise you, I don't care what your business is. I don't care if you think, oh, I'm the exception, I don't need this, I have. If you take this exercise seriously, okay, everything else is going to change. So good luck with the exercise, and I look forward to the next lesson.